Ladies and gentlemen, welcome once again to the Student of the Game. I am Kyle Nass, the Student of the Game. And listen, if you're here, chances are you like talking sport, and we're glad you did it with us here tonight. For those who are watching anything on the video edition of this particular podcast, the reason I'm wearing a collared shirt is I am just fresh out of coverage with the Minnesota Timberwolves doing battle with the Orlando Magic at Kia Center for Fans for Sports. So yeah, I know it looks weird doing the backwards cap, but my guest tonight doesn't like it when I show my beautiful flowing hair while doing the show in his presence. And I don't want to make him self-conscious. He's got enough to worry about after the close football game that one of his teams executed. And on the college side of things, Notre Dame, of course, toppling Penn State. Sure, there'll be plenty of that talked about on the Huddle Up podcast. And speaking of the Huddle Up podcast, the CEO of Huddle Up Inc. himself is here to talk about his other team, the Fighting Jim Harbaughs, a.k.a. the LA Chargers, as they face the Houston Texans in the playoffs here in the NFL. Give it up for my dude, Big Jim Nies. What's going on, sir?
Yeah, what's going on, Kyle? Yeah, I mean, it's not that I don't like to see your hair. It's just I'm jealous of the hair.
Right.
I've had a receding hairline since I was still in college. So
listen, I've already drawn your ire as an alleged Notre Dame hater. I'm not trying to stack more things onto the list. By the way, I will say this publicly, second week in a row that I have picked your Fighting Irish. Even get the goddamn cup in there. Okay, well, if we're going to do branding, mother whatever, bam, Student of the Game hat. For those that are on the podcast, I have turned my cap forward for the first time in a while on this show, so everybody could see the Student of the Game branding right there, provided by T Public and the Huddle Up store there. So how's that for goddamn bell, Jim Nies?
There it is. Beautiful. It's beautiful. It's all harmonious. Yeah, I'm as I'm watching Marcus Freeman in his post-game presser, I'm in shock. I'm exhausted. I'm adrenalized. I'm a lot.
Adrenalized. I don't know if that's a word, but it is one now. God damn it.
Is now. Oh, sorry.
Oh, already. Okay, 3 minutes in. I didn't get a chance to make a joke. Don't be like EJ. And you already are. And his wasn't even an F-bomb. You did it worse. I actually have to go back in to the 242 mark and edit this beast because you couldn't keep contained.
Look,
thanks, Jim.
Much like the Billy Bob Tan back in the preseason. If I'm gonna do it, I'm gonna do it the whole way.
If you're gonna do something, go for the gold.
Exactly.
Yeah,
I'm
exactly.
gonna be a coward like EJ and do it with like an S word.
Now. Hey. We don't need to say coward on this show.
Well,
we say fence sitter. Anyways, no, listen. But enough of that. Let's come off the fence here. Even though I wasn't done bragging about picking your Irish to win a game second time in a row in the playoffs, while also picking against the SEC 2 weeks in a row, as I think Ohio State is going to win
probably
their upcoming game.
Now, much to the delight of your ears, I will be rooting for an SEC team tomorrow night because I'd much rather see Texas by way of the Big 12 and the SEC than I would Ohio State. But I feel like I'm just peeing into the breeze on that point. But
well, here where I am. Here's where I am, sir. I'm going to gently call BS because you and I both know you aren't picking for the Texas Longhorns. You are picking against a certain painted-haired coach of which you are not fond at all. The point I'm making certainly sees the light of day.
Well, that's true. Ryan Day, not a doctor, but he is a PhD. If you catch my.
If you don't know, you need to watch a little podcast.
I feel like that could be a shirt in and of itself. Ryan Day, PhD.
Don't rule it out. T Public Huddle Up story there. You can make those comments all you want. After all, you are a free man.
There you go. I love it.
All right, enough NFL time. Damn it. So,
yes,
I gotta say, man, we've had the conversation, Mikey Byrne and I, obviously, on the NFL awards for the Student of the Game this year. Harbaugh was a candidate. We talked about him extensively as part of the NFL awards. I'm not going to give away whether or not he won. Actually, Jim, I don't know if you listened to it yet, but
I haven't had a chance. It's in my queue.
I won't spoil anything, but I will say that Mikey Byrne and I think only agreed once and the entire panel. So it's very interesting.
I don't think that's I don't have like a list of awards, but I don't have Jim Harbaugh as my personal head coach of the year. I think he should be a finalist for sure. I just really think what Kevin O'Connell did in Minnesota with all of the challenges in front of them, losing your starting quarterback, bringing in Sam Darnold to be your starting quarterback, and then really going face to face with one of the tougher divisions in the NFL. Yeah,
it's an interesting point.
14-3 is pretty impressive.
Yeah, no, 14-3 is certainly an impressive record, and the fact that came down to it in the NFC North is worth entertainment. But I do find it interesting that a team that played against the toughest teams and lost those, but beat all the easier teams is one you're rooting for. Anyways, so what a veiled shot that was.
It was.
No, but. Yeah, listen, I'm not mad at that pick either. I'll let you decide if you're mad at my pick. Somebody's going to be, but, two Hades, they can rot. Nonetheless, they do battle against DeMeco Ryans and the Houston Texans. I don't think he's a coach of the year candidate. And I have to say, if I had a chance to talk with Patrick Creighton, who is regularly on the Student of the Game podcast, I think I'm trying to get him for a post-game reaction for that, so fingers crossed. But I know the Texans are hosting, but golly, man, you got to feel like the matchup is bad for the Texans and the momentum's on the sides of the Chargers here, yeah?
Yeah, no, I think the Chargers are really coming in, and I was commenting to my wife, Miss Big Jim, as we were watching over the last couple weeks of the season, that I felt that it really felt to me that the offense of the Chargers was really starting to figure it out, because they've been really good defensively all year. You look at them against the NFL, they're one of the better defenses. Teams don't score a lot of points against them. The thing that kind of gave them trouble, early on in the season, even in some of their tougher games, they'd scored 10 points, 13 points. I mean, right. you look at them as an offense, I think they're somewhere in the like 18 to 23 range in terms of total offense. And really, I mean, you look at his success in different places, that's not uncharacteristic of a Jim Harbaugh coach team.
Right.
But over the last couple weeks of the season, like McConkey's gotten healthy. You got Dobbins back as healthy. They brought in the corpse of Ezekiel Elliott to like be a short yardage back guy if need be, because they do have some injuries to their running backs. But Quentin Johnson starting to find his hands a little bit. Will Dissly starting to find his hands a little bit. Justin Herbert healthy at this time of year, at least, relatively as much as you can be at this point of the year. So they're starting to get healthy. The team's starting to figure out. Offensive line is starting to do its job a little bit more. And I'm like, I think this Chargers offense is really kind of getting some confidence behind it. And that's kind of a great recipe for the Chargers. Probably not a great one for the Texans, because that, we've talked about it on Huddle Up, Bing. And the Texans, it felt like at times they were winning the division because nobody else could. They've had injuries, they've been, riddled, especially on the offensive side of the ball, by injuries all season. So it's been hard for them to find a rhythm. It's not a shot at what DeMeco Ryans and company have doing. Anybody that is verbalizing any sort of a, were we wrong about CJ Stroud a year ago? No, there's just more tape on him. And it's not uncharacteristic for a second-year quarterback to take a little bit of a step back. I think that team's going to be,
even though Texans fans went out of their way to start comparing Trevor Lawrence to Daniel Jones, but okay, cool.
Well, I mean, let's not get crazy here. Yeah, like it's not uncharacteristic of it. I think the Texans in the long run are doing the right things as long as they don't get into their own way. But yeah, I really do think that right now the Chargers are coming into this game with the momentum behind them.
And you mentioned the Chargers finishing strong. I mean, my response to that is basically, well, they better, because their last 3 games were the Broncos, Patriots, and Raiders. And I get it, the Broncos is a good out, but if I'm supposed to be impressed by putting up 40 on the damn Patriots and then 34 on the Raiders, I'm not. Here's the win that impress, or they didn't, or no, that's not a win for them. Sorry. The one that impresses me the most on their schedule isn't even a win. It was a close game against the Ravens, going 30-23. If you're Jim Harbaugh, against most teams, you will win with 23 points. But to your credit, going in there, taking care of business, getting a chance to come off the platform, it's nice, especially against a team who we've pointed out is, shall we say, trench warfare challenged, as the Texans have become. And I've been on with my dude VT on the Texans 22 podcast. I'll give VT shouts. He and I have a friendly spars, and my only crime is covering the Jaguars, and he's aware of that. But he has acknowledged that this offensive line many times is certainly the weakness of this group. And I think the power vacuum in the AFC South, especially when Trevor Lawrence gets hurt, when their offensive line is bad, when you have the mayonnaise messiah, when Anthony Richardson is constantly hurt, when he's not missing the broadside of a barn with his throws, it's a tough place to be. So CJ Stroud won by default, kind of like Trevor Lawrence won by default in 22, right? So all the above to say, I came in with that. Well, and you mentioned injuries, by the way. Let me go to this too with the Texans. The injuries to their defensive back core is problematic. I don't know how good their defense is per se up front, but you got to think that Jimmy Harbaugh is going to have something for that. And I'm going to say this. Yes, I know it's technically an upset, but I got the Chargers as my lock of the week on this, man.
Oh, actually, I don't even think it is a upset.
Who's hosting the game is my point.
Oh, sure, that's fair. But I think from a spread standpoint, the Chargers are a 3-point favorite. You put that on a neutral field, you're looking more towards 5. So really, the Chargers do have the edge on there. Yeah, but I mean, going on the road in the postseason, not always the easiest thing to do. And looking over the Chargers schedule, and you bring up the last 3 games, and yeah, it wasn't murderer's row by any stretch of the imagination. And when you look over it too against playoff teams this year, they're 2-4, which I know really doesn't sound great. Like when you look at that number,
not great, Bob.
But it was a week 3 10-point loss to the Steelers, a week 4 7-point loss to the Chiefs. You get into the later part of the year, yeah, there's that 7-point loss to the Ravens. You have a 2-point loss to the Chiefs, and then the anomaly of the group, a 40-17 loss to the Buccaneers.
But what do all those losses have in common, Jim? And that's why I kind of stopped. And I say air quotes, I'm not surprised. It's because it's other teams that can match trench warfare, and
Sure.
It leads right into your piece. They can match trench warfare and still score the football in other ways.
Yeah.
Which, and to your point, Quentin Johnston might have done okay, but like, let's be honest, it's not like they have a butt ton of weapons. Listen, I'm all about McConkey. That even sounds dirty when I say it, but there's a limit to how
right. Like that sounds like something you're buying in like a back alley. Like, hey man, you got 2 McConkeys? Yeah, I'll see you back there in 10 minutes.
Wow, that makes it sound even worse somehow.
Well, see you back there in 10 minutes. I'll meet you in room 6 for a McConkey in half an hour. Like, take your pick. And none of it.
You could have at least made it like a drink an old person orders at a bar. Yeah, she'll have the Roy Rogers and I'll have the McConkey.
Right. Do you want cherries in the McConkey? Of course I do.
There you go. I think it's that trench. But again, that's where I'm getting at with this being just an unfavorable matchup overall for the Texans. If you picked the AFC team that they would prefer to play in this round, I would actually think they might pick Denver. because of I'm not saying they're bad in the trenches. Let me be clear about that, but they seem to be the lightest. Like in a world where Houston's going to play TJ Watt, not about that life,
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, no, I think, Denver obviously would be a matchup they would probably prefer. They've beaten them twice already, which maybe they steer away from it because it is hard to win that third time.
No, not the Chargers. I mean the Texans hosting.
Oh, yes, yes. I'm sorry, yes.
So, yeah, I mean, you get it. Well, and you say they beat them twice, but, man, when you sweep a division rival, to have to play them a third time is rough.
Yeah, brutal stuff.
Like some years, though, you could have 14 wins and then lose all 3 of them to the Titans because they have the playbook. Shouts to Mark Brunell and the Jacksonville Jaguars. In a game where they probably shouldn't have been anyway because the Music City Miracle was a forward pass.
It was. I will stand with you on that one, my friend.
Yeah, no, anyways. No, well, I'll put it this way. Like, since you went full degenerate earlier, I don't feel like there's a lot of bets here that I love. I'm inclined to say the under is the right move. First of all, the correct answer is don't bet this game. The only game more dangerous to bet is Minnesota, LA, and that was even before the news of the relocation of the game was announced, which, again, thoughts, prayers, and well wishes to those that are dealing with the fires there. That whole situation is nutty.
I saw something today, and it puts into perspective because one of the big like neighborhoods areas of LA that was like wiped out yesterday was the Palisades, and like the square footage of that is larger than like mid Manhattan, if you want to put it in perspective.
That's nutty because I've been to mid Manhattan. I haven't been to the Palisades. That's insane.
Yeah, like, and it's when I saw that, and I didn't do the math, so it could be wrong. Somebody can fact check me if you want, but like I saw it, and it was like, which fact checking doesn't mean anything anymore anyway. But
okay, let's not make this an earnestly speaking podcast over here.
Filed for content.
Yeah, right.
But yeah, I mean, when I saw that, it was that was like, oh my gosh. So yeah, everybody that's in the path there, yeah, thoughts and prayers for sure.
So, but yeah, with that in mind, I here's the question I've been posing throughout these preview episodes to people of various games and ilks here. The question to you falls this way: if you see X happen, you knew the Chargers won the game.
If I see the Chargers force one turnover, they'll win.
One single turnover advantage is all they need.
Yeah, I think the window is that tight for the Texans to win this game. Wow. Because like the Chargers defense, I mean, if you think anywhere on the field, if they're going to turn the ball over, it's either going to give the Chargers a short field, or it's going to be one of those times where Texans are moving down the field, look, they're going to score, and that turnover can kind of just be a crushing blow. So yeah, I think if the Chargers can force one turnover, maybe two, but I'll stick to the one. The Chargers win this game.
Yeah, no, obviously we are aligned on that, much like we were with your Irish, much like we are against your mortal enemy, Ryan Day. Yeah, I think, see, that's the bad thing about cut and dried games like this. It's a shorter episode because there's not all that much. Hey, listen,
because I think scoring is going to be a premium. Because like, again, if you are going to touch this game at all, the under. I think that is the smart play. I think points are going to be a minimum. Chargers are not an offensive team. They're not. They're going to run the ball a lot. They're going to, probably take a few shots downfield. But when your leading receiver on your team, Lad McConkey is the leading receiver on your team. He has 1,100 yards this year, and a lot of those yards are Wes Welker yards. Like,
catch, right.
Some people will know what that means, like the scrappy gym rat is a word you're going to probably hear thrown around about Lad McConkey in a couple of years. But So they're going to run the ball. They're going to pound the football. They're going to run the clock down. And yeah, so when points are at a premium, that's a tight window.
Fair enough. No, on that I shan't front. Well, listen, from where I sit, I think that's a good evaluation of the game. Big Jim, tell the world where you can be found.
Yeah, man, you can find me on Blue Sky on Twitter at Big Jim Sports. You can hit the link tree there. That'll take you to all my projects. Huddle Up Podcast is the big one right now, of course, because we are in the prime of playoff football, both college and the NFL.
Footballs, yes.
Footballs. So this upcoming Tuesday when we're live, of course, we'll be previewing the College Football Playoff National Championship, which will be Notre Dame versus somebody else. Still kind of in shock to be saying that, but we are here. And then we'll of course be looking at round 2, the divisional round of the NFL playoffs, and looking back at the weekend that was. Then you can get me at 3CT, my wrestling stuff. We have our Thursday live show, or Tuesday shows, just kind of a little bit of whatever we like to talk about. I got Take 3 Wrestling Podcast, Discussions with a Nobody, which I've been pretty dormant on, so maybe after football season I'll fire that back up. But a lot of projects.
I feel like it's my fault you won't have an episode on right now, because you and I both know you'd have fired that beast up to talk about this game.
Man, yeah, just it's been a fun football season. Well, college football season anyway for me, and it's not quite over yet. But I got my Chargers here in the postseason. So
I was going to say, what are you bitching about? You have the Fighting Harbaughs.
That's right.
Some of our teams went home because the entire friggin' roster's an infirmary. So
yeah, we're a Harbaugh house here, and we're a Fighting Irish house right now. We got one more.
Yeah, I was too until Balky screwed that one up first.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, check out my work on the Duval Dive, evaluating why the heck the Jags kept Trent Baalke.
Oh, brutal.
Fun episode though. Me and Travis Z. Holmes, man, we're gonna have it's a tough topic, but darn it, you're gonna have fun watching us talk about it. I can guarantee you that, sir.
Sometimes all you can do is laugh.
Yeah, I don't play the violin, so I can't do that while Duval is burning. With that in mind, my friend.
Oh, that's the one I wanted.
Fair enough. I'm over here voice acting, not great, Bob, and you have the goddamn thing right there.
Look, man, I'm somewhere between exhausted, hyped, tired, in shock,
and magnanimous to let me do it on my show so I can sound talented. It's amazing. There you go. I think part of you also is a little cheeky and happy about the fact that if I'm going to miss the show on Tuesday like I did, it was for some minor league hacky. So I think you're all about that.
You're not wrong. That's a good PTO time right there.
2-1 overtime, baby. That's all there is to it.
Love that overtime.
Let's go Bears. We both cheer for Bears. Oh snap! I just realized that. Whoa! What just happened?
It's like a meta thing.
Like, well, I mean, granted, I can't be around anything that's even close to chocolate, so Hershey Bears is a bad idea for me.
Well, that's true. You'll get in trouble up here.
But if I have the Solar Bears like Coca-Cola used to do, a polar bear mascot, and like I have Coke Zero all the time. So
although
wow.
I believe at the Hershey chocolate factory, I think they do have zero sugar chocolates. So
don't you toy with me. Actually, I think you're right. I bought some before, and they're actually deceptively tasty. Don't get it twisted. It is damn close. I haven't done the side by side because I think that'll just hurt my feelings. But
it's kind of like whole wheat pasta. Like I can eat whole wheat pasta and I'm fine with it, but like I can't like put it next to like
real pasta,
homemade fresh real pasta, because no, that's bad. As long as I just eat the whole wheat pasta, I can tell myself this is what pasta is.
Well, and most of it is the sauce that decides the fate. Let's be honest.
Sure, obviously.
You're relying heavier on the sauce, just like the way the Houston Texans have lost some of their weapons, so they're relying relying more on making fewer mistakes. Boom! How's that for a goddamn segue?
Stamp it.
I am Kyle Nies, the student of the game. You can find me on Twitter, Instagram, Threads, and Blue Sky. Jim, I'm one of the cool kids. We keep talking about this. at the SOTG. Find me on Facebook as a student of the game. Check out my writings with the Fans for Sports Network covering the Jacksonville Jaguars and the Orlando Magic, which right after I sign off here with Jim, I will be finishing an article about how the Magic fans out there are still happy, even though they got trounced by the Minnesota Timberwolves here on Thursday night. They still have the return of Paolo Banchero imminent. It's a big fat hairy deal, Jim. I can assure you of that. Something, that's what she said. Then, of course, the black and gold Banneret is still doing things. Scott Frost has just completed his coaching staff, finally getting his special teamer in. You'll hear about that if you go to the coaching tracker on the blackandgoldbanneret.com. And also the Black and Gold Banneret YouTube channel will have the Night Shift podcast. And I can guarantee you we'll be talking about that Monday because we only do it once a week. So, for Big Jim Nies, I am Kyle Nash, the student of the game. Until next time, everyone, class dismissed.